I want to welcome everyone to the Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, November 3rd, 2022. The time now is 2:04 p.m. I'm President Robert Ahn. I'll be chairing this meeting today, and the following commissioners have also joined this meeting virtually via Zoom. We have Vice President Mason, Commissioners Crockett, and Commissioner Nara. DCR's Interim Executive Director Michelle Garakian has also joined this meeting, along with members of the department and the City Attorney's Office. Before we begin, we'll start with some general instructions. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being conducted virtually via Zoom and is being live streamed on DCR's website. Those who wish to watch this meeting may do so by visiting cannabis.lacity.org and clicking the About menu at the top. Under the About menu, click the Commission Meetings link. Scroll down to the bottom of the Commission's Meetings page to find the live stream. You can also listen by calling council phone at 213-621-2489 or 818-904-9450, selecting the number for this meeting. Those that offered public comment may call one of the toll-free numbers 877-853-5257 or 888-475-4499. Enter meeting ID 860-838-7310. These numbers can also be found on the agenda for this meeting. The agenda for today's meeting can be found on the department's website at cannabis.lacity.org and navigating to the commission page under the About menu. This meeting is being recorded. Therefore, we ask commissioners, department staff, and members of the public to please state your name clearly when you speak. The audio file will be posted online within 48 hours of the meeting. If you are in the Zoom call, when the item you wish to speak on is called, press *9 to get on the speaking queue. The Commission Executive Assistant will call out each speaker by the last 4 digits of their phone number to identify the caller. Caller will then be prompted to unmute themselves by dialing *6. If there are no other items you wish to speak on, you may disconnect from the call and view the meeting via live stream or dial council phone to listen only. Today we'll be following the agenda order except for item number 6, which we'll take earlier after, I believe, item number 3. Today's presentation to the Commission will be available on the department's website within 2 business days from this meeting. We'll consider general public comment and single or multiple agenda items together. Therefore, speakers will have 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute per item, with a maximum of 2 minutes for multiple items. We ask that speakers state whether they're providing general public comment and or which other items they are speaking on before they begin to comment so that we can appropriately time them. If the speaker does not specify which item they're speaking on, only 1 minute will be provided. With that, we'll go ahead and open the general public comment and single or multiple agenda items. The speakers can address the Commission on non-agenda related items that are within the jurisdiction of the Commission or provide public comment for items in today's agenda by dialing *9 on your telephone. If you're listening on the live stream and have called to provide public comment, please mute the live stream audio to eliminate feedback. Okay, commissioners and staff, please mute your microphones. Ms. Treviso, please call the first speaker.
If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please dial *9. Caller with phone number ending in 3915. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is, I'm sorry, I have a stuttering problem. My name is Jesse Frierson, and I had a general comment.
Sure, you have 1 minute.
Okay, there's a rumor going around saying that the city council is going to postpone the lottery due to other applicants not being able to submit their documents on time. And I just wanted to say that I'm a verified applicant, and I think it would be very unfair if they were to postpone it due to other people not doing what they need to do. Because the DCR gave us plenty of chances. They gave us 3 months and then 2 months, and they talked about it before then, and they had the one-on-ones. They had all the meetings every week and everything. If a person didn't do what they were supposed to do, then maybe they shouldn't be in because they didn't take care of their responsibilities. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please dial *9. Caller with phone number ending in 9263. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Johnny McNair, item number 10. Excuse me, as a social equity participant, I'm in the 11th district, the Honorable Curran Price's district, and represent a coalition of minority, Latino, and African-American businesses, and we sternly object to the postponement of the lottery this year. We did a lot of extensive homework in getting placed in the lottery, and everybody had ample time to fulfill this request. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. If you wish to provide public comment, please dial *9. President On, I don't see any additional, well, someone else is on the queue. Just a moment. Caller with phone number ending in 3408. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, this is Carolyn Jordan. I chair the Brentwood Community Council, and I'm providing general public comment.
Sure, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I wanted to make this group aware of a situation that's been unfolding in our community, Brentwood, because a retail dispensary license was granted through the social equity program with no notice or outreach to the community or neighboring properties in advance of licensure. And the location that was utilized is at San Vicente and 26th Street, which serves as a bus stop for virtually all the independent schools in the west side. And so we have literally hundreds of students from kindergarten through 12th grade who are at that location every day. And we believe that a process needs to be implemented that ensures that advance outreach is done so that issues like these can be discussed and appropriate mitigation measures can be taken if available, or different locations be considered when the use is this incompatible. Thank you.
Thank you. President On, I do not see any callers on the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Vizo. Seeing no callers, let's go ahead and we will now close both the general public comment agenda item and single or multiple agenda item periods. We'll move on to commission business at this time. Item number 1 is the advanced calendar. Commissioners, please check the calendar in front of you with our future meeting dates and advise of any planned absences. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the approval of the minutes. We were sent the minutes of September 22nd, 2022 for review. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
This is Commissioner Crockett. Motion to approve.
Commissioner Crockett with the motion. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Naro. I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Naro. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Vizo, please call the roll.
Commissioner Crockett, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Naro, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice President Mason, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
President On, how do you vote?
Aye.
The vote is 4-0 and the motion passes.
Okay, great. Next on the agenda, we have commission announcements and updates. Commissioners, do you have any to share at this time?
President On, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's also the minutes of, I believe, October 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Let's go ahead and we were sent the minutes of October 13th, 2022 for review. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
This is Commissioner Crockett. I move to approve.
This is Vice President Mason. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Vizo, please call the roll.
Commissioner Crockett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice President Mason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Naro, how do you vote?
I have to abstain. I was not present at the meeting.
Thank you. President On, how do you vote?
Aye.
The vote is 3-0 and the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to commission announcements and updates. Commissioners, do you have anything to share at this time?
I just have one question. What are the exact dates for December that we have on the calendar? Anybody have the calendar with them?
Commissioner Naro, the dates are December 8th and December 29th.
Okay. I'm tentative about the 29th, but I would confirm as we get close to December.
Thank you. I'll make a note.
Okay, moving on to future agenda requests. Commissioners, do we have any at this time? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to item number 2. This is the finding to continue teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361, which requires that all legislative bodies make findings concerning the state of emergency stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic to continue holding virtual meetings. Do I have a motion to approve and continue teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361? Commissioners?
I'll make the motion. I know I'm just looking for the language, but I make a motion that we continue teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361 and possible commission action.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Commissioner Crockett. I second.
Okay. Mr. Vizo, please call the roll.
Commissioner Naro, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Crockett, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Vice President Mason, how do you vote?
I'm sorry. I vote aye.
Thank you. President On, how do you vote?
Aye.
The vote is 4-0 and the motion passes.
Thank you. Let's move on to item number 3. This is the report from the Interim Executive Director, Michelle Grockin. Ms. Grockin, I believe you're on mute. I see you, but I can't hear you.
Hello, commissioners. How are you today? My apologies. I wasn't able
Great.
to unmute myself.
There
Can
you
everybody
are.
hear me?
Welcome. Yes, we can hear you.
Fabulous. Can everybody see me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. I will begin my report today. My name is Michelle Garaki, and I have the honor of serving as the interim director, executive director for the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation. I'd like to thank the folks who called in today and provided public comment. We take that into consideration. I have several updates for the commission today, beginning with a specific item on the DCR report of various amendments that were submitted to the City Council on October 13 and were heard in Plum, that is the Planning Land Use Committee, on Tuesday, November 1st. DCR participated in the Plum Committee to discuss a report of proposed amendments that have been in the making since April 2022. Following our last appearance in Plum in February 2022, the DCR has been working with council staff, specifically the chair's staff, to address report back instructions as well as other proposed amendments to address short-term and long-term shared goals and priorities to advance applicants and licensees, but particularly advance folks in the social equity community. The items before the committee on Tuesday affect all aspects of the department's processes in support of the social equity program, including existing and prospective social equity individual applicants, as well as establishing clear requirements for annual licensure. Some of the proposed amendments in our report included the aggregation of social equity interests, sunset date for original SEIA verification requirements, entity subs, successor and interest as natural person, relocations for applicants, licensee relocation after temporary approval, deletion of or changes to certain definitions, minor typographical changes to our code, a sunset date for the issuance of the temporary approval, expansion of refiling process, new section concerning annual licensing and timelines, authorization of certain applicants to participate in annual renewal process, progressive compliance amendments, amendments to consolidate and clarify existing licensing requirements, and amendments to clarify and consolidate administrative requirements. On Tuesday, the Plum Committee reviewed the proposed changes to the LAMC that were submitted by DCR in response to Council File 21-1083-S1 on October 13th. And 2 days ago, the Plum Committee instructed the city attorney to transmit a report and ordinance red line on just 2 out of the 19 amendments in that report. Those 2 amendments were the aggregation of social equity interests with the removal of the indirect owner definition, and the relocation for just social equity applicants. Right now, the city attorney is preparing a draft redline ordinance to go to the full council for consideration. DCR does plan on transmitting a report of DCR's October 13th report, specifically focusing on the 17 amendments that were not considered in Tuesday's Plum meeting. A draft red line of that report will be included for consideration, hopefully at another Plum meeting before council goes on recess on December 15th. So that's an update on that. DCR is going to continue to push for those 17 amendments as they are critically important to the activities that will be taking place next year, specifically the annual licensing process. I wanted to provide an update on the 2022 social equity verification process. An email was sent out to all individuals who applied to be verified on Monday, October 31st. And I just want to reiterate some of the talking points from that email for folks who were unable to read that email. Also, the contents of that email were posted on our website later that day. You can find that at cannabis.lacity.org. So an update moving forward on the 2022 social equity verification process. Please know that it was DCR's goal to verify as many individuals as social equity individual applicants as could meet the requirements. No city department ever wants to be in the position of choosing who has access to opportunities for licensing and other resources. I'd like to take time to discuss some background on the 2022 social equity individual application verification process at this time. The City Council, however, sets the laws that govern DCR's process. DCR must abide by those laws and aims to do so in the most transparent, ethical, and compassionate manner that we can. We attempt to do our very best by the community that we serve. As such, in July 2020, the City Council adopted recommendations from the Rules, Elections, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, or the Rules Committee, which narrowed the social equity verification criteria and set specific timelines for DCR to process and review verification requests. During this legislative process, the City Council heard from many social equity applicants who believed that the then existing verification criteria did not reflect the true spirit of the social equity program. As a result, the council changed the following. One, a cannabis conviction, California cannabis conviction or arrest became a requirement for phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. 2, disproportionately impacted areas were changed from zip codes to police reporting districts. And 3, the low income criteria was updated to include asset limitations. Because the criteria changed, local law required everyone seeking to participate in phase 3 retail round 2 lottery to be verified under the new and expanded criteria with a qualifying cannabis conviction or arrest. Individuals previously verified in 2019 had to meet the expanded and new criteria and submit a new SEIA eligibility verification request. This ensured that every participant met the same criteria for the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. I want to provide an update now on the status of this verification process. The department received 1,276 eligibility verification requests. The DCR determined that approximately 1,100 requests were unique and that about 137 requests were duplicates or test submissions. On July 26, DCR began a 90-day review period to determine the eligibility of each application. Of the approximately 1,100 unique submissions we received, approximately 500 have been verified to participate in the lottery, and approximately 600 were not verified to participate in the lottery because the participant did not demonstrate a qualifying arrest or conviction prior to 2016 or did not meet 2 criteria. Verification requests will have gone through at least 3 levels of reviews before the lottery is administered later this year. Unfortunately, not every applicant will be verified this time around. We've urged all who are unable to be verified to review the dynamic list that is on our website for the general reasons why an individual could not be verified, and encourage these folks to contact DCR, where an analyst would be able to provide folks with additional information on why they were not verified. A reminder, the default website status is no, so statuses may change as DCR manually updates remaining statuses. Unfortunately, local law does not allow requesters to supplement or fix the verification request submitted during the verification period this summer. Local law required that the verification window remained open for 60 days, followed by a 90-day review period for DCR to make eligibility requirements. Under local law, this verification window and DCR's review period cannot overlap. Allowing requesters to supplement or fix their submissions after the 60-day verification window would mean the verification period is both longer than the 60 days and perhaps overlaps with the DCR's review period. Finally, and most importantly, local law provides that DCR's SEIA eligibility determinations are final and not appealable. Again, for folks who were unable to get verified, DCR understands that this news is disappointing. We are sympathetic. To that end, DCR would like to open up a new social equity verification process in early February 2023 and another lottery process, available licenses permitting, in the subsequent months following this February 2023 SEIA verification process. I want to provide a little bit of background on the outreach we did on the verification process at this time. In light of the state's provisional application deadline on March 31st, 2023, DCR moved quickly in early 2022 to open up a new eligibility verification process in hopes of providing the most time possible for new applicants to apply into our process for a provisional before the state deadline. After 3 weeks of communication to prepare prospective social equity applicants, DCR opened up the 60-day social equity individual application eligibility verification submission period, that's a mouthful, on May 26, 2022. To assist prospective applicants through the verification process, DCR made available the following: a dedicated webpage on the DCR website with information and links to resources for verification, including several video explainers on the social equity individual application verification criteria, a preparatory checklist, and a FAQ. There were 3 webinars that were recorded and posted on our website. The ability to submit pre-submit questions that would be then answered live at these webinars, presentation slides, archived presentation slides from these webinars that were posted to DCR's website, and over 60 one-on-one counseling sessions that offered guidance on the necessary documentation for verification, and over 25 emails in a 2-month period, reminding folks about the resources that were provided to them and the verification process deadlines. In addition to these resources, DCR reached far and wide virtually due to the limitation posed on us by the pandemic to communicate to current stakeholders and potential new stakeholders by email, placing strategic ads targeting the new DIAs on Google Ads, and working with trade and community groups to disseminate information about the verification process. At this time, I would like to talk about the Phase 2 Retail Round 2 lottery process that is coming up. For requesters who were able to get verified and who have been able to get verified, the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery registration period, that is not the lottery itself, is open as of October 24th, 2022. If a verified 2002 social equity individual applicant wants to participate in the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery, they must register through the DCR licensing portal before 4 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. All timely registrations will be entered into the lottery. Incomplete or late registrations will not be accepted, and as a result, will not be entered into the lottery. DCR will be announcing the date for the lottery soon and ask folks who are eligible to participate in the lottery to join us at a technical assistance webinar taking place on November 9th. In conclusion, I thank the Commission for hearing my report today. We look forward to working with the Commission, with our stakeholders, with Council, with the Mayor, et cetera, on collective goals to ensure a progressive, equitable, and vibrant commercial cannabis industry here in Los Angeles. Commissioners, I thank you for your time. Please let me know if you have any questions on my report today. If not, I have Dr. Brown, Director of the Social Equity Program, AGM Jason Colleen, who oversees licensing, and Compliance and Enforcement Manager Rocky Wiles, who will be presenting today to discuss DCR updates to divisions of programs they oversee, specifically on items that have occurred since this Commission last convened. Thank you so much. I am open to questions if the Commission has any today.
Thank you, Ms. Grockian. Commissioners, at this time, I'm going to open the floor to questions and deliberations on the presentation.
Hi, this is just briefly, I don't know that I have a question, but first off, thank you, Interim GM Garakian. It sounds as though you all as the department have run a thorough process up to this point, and moving into verification, we always knew that there would be a number of folks that, missed out on a lottery opportunity. And so while it sounds like there is conversation of postponing possibly the verification, it seems in my eyes, based on what has been shared, that the department has run a thorough process by the book. And there would be, serious my eyes, if we were to move forward with postponing one being, a challenge to the fidelity of the entire licensing regimen. So I'm thankful for your update. And I just want my concerns to be noted on the record that should there be a movement to postpone, there should also be findings that there was some breach of the fidelity of the process, not just that a number of people did not win in a lottery. That doesn't make sense. Someone's always going to, unfortunately, miss out in a lottery opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Crockett.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any other questions or comments?
I do have a question, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
So if we were to have a lottery early next year, in previous meetings, we talked about the sunsetting of the whole temporary approval process at the state level. I believe the governor extended that, am I correct?
Not yet, Commissioner.
So then we're in a tight spot if we open this up next March, I believe you said?
There's no definitive timeline for opening up a lottery next March. What I'd like to do is open up another verification process in February of 2023. And then a subsequent lottery to take place after that with licenses, like if there are licenses available.
Understood. Then
Yes,
my concern is that we're going to be back to where we were when I was first appointed, where we're going to have potential licensees paying rents on properties that are not generating any revenue for a very extended period of time. And that was something I know that we worked really hard to avoid.
Yeah, I hear your concerns loud and clear, Commissioner. I will, Commissioner On, I think we're getting a little bit of feedback from you or someone on the call, at least from me. Okay. Vice President Mason, I hear you loud and clear. It's a paramount concern for us as well. Concurrently, I have been in conversations with folks in the state from several legislative bodies and executive branch members about whether or not the provisional deadline will be considered to be pushed. There are two legislators, Senator Stephen Bradford and an Assembly member, Reggie Jones Sawyer, who are looking at solutions around this deadline. And I think they are coming close, from what I understand, to finding a solution. And once that solution is kind of agreed upon, it's my understanding that the state folks are going to go back to the environmental community to negotiate. Once that's been done, hopefully there will be a solution moving forward. So I hear your concerns loud and clear. And hopefully two things can happen and be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands. Ms. Grotkin, again, thank you for the thorough presentation and update. It seems to me, once we have the ground rules set in place, I think it's important that we maintain the integrity of the system that's been set up, and there has to be certainty built into the process. So I understand a lot of the comments and concerns that have been raised, but I believe we've got to make sure that we are executing as the rules allow for and in the manner in which the system has been set up, and make sure that we're consistent throughout the process. And I do believe there's a lot of effort made at the beginning of the process, at the outset, to get the information out to the applicant community. And I just want to stress that we continue those efforts to make sure that folks have the resources and the tools available to them at the outset to make sure that they are able to achieve, success and achieve their goals through the process that we've set up. And we look forward to continuing to support you. We do have a lot of concerns about the sunsetting at the state level. That's something that we've definitely got to keep our eye on, because if we don't do that, we're going to put folks in a very difficult situation with very little time to get the state approvals as needed. And so I just want to make sure that we continue to monitor the situation at the state, and if you can keep us updated on any changes that may be coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely, sir. I really appreciate all of your guys' comments. I can assure not just the commission, but folks on the call listening today, I will assure folks that I will do everything in my power to assist in that effort. That is something that the department really wants to see pushed out. So we give our social equity applicants the opportunity to get a provisional license and remain in operation as they go through any annual licensure process. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity today.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go ahead and close item number 3, and we're going to take item number 6 out of order. We're going to take that now. Item number 6 is the report from the DCR on the social equity program. Dr. Brown, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, everybody?
We can hear you. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Great. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, commissioners. I hope everyone is well. Today, I will be providing an overview of the social equity program's many benefits and resources. I always like to begin my presentation with the mission statement of the department. This mission statement is what guides our policies and work each and every day. The mission of this social equity program is to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis industry in order to decrease disparities in life outcomes for marginalized communities and to address the disproportionate impacts of the failed war on drugs in those communities. Next slide. And now I will provide some updates on our business licensing, compliance, and technical assistance programs. Next slide. Our BLC program is designed to provide the resources and training to applicants and licensees to navigate the licensure process, allow entrepreneurs to stand up their businesses by providing training for our workforce development initiatives, and offer financial and legal assistance to ensure business stability and maintenance. Slide. Now, just for a little background, in 2022 alone, we have hosted 7 monthly beachside chats with international technology experts. We've hosted 34 live webinars covering all topics relevant to running a successful licensed commercial cannabis business. We're offering 300 hours of one-on-one business, professional, and workforce development coaching. Additionally, in 2021, we launched the Learning Management System, or better known as the LMS, which contains 110 hours of self-paced educational content and live webinars. This site is available exclusively to verified social equity individual applicants. They have access to a comprehensive digital platform of information on topics such as marketing and branding, insurance requirements, commercial leasing and contracts negotiation, track and trace, licensing procedures, cannabis technology applications, workforce development training, and good faith hiring requirements, and much more. Next slide. The department opened the individual eligibility verification window, of which Michelle went through. And just to reiterate a little bit, on May 26th through July 27th, the verification window opened and closed. The department provided comprehensive training for the verification process. DCR conducted 64 one-on-one coaching sessions and 3 webinars, May 10th, May 24th, and June 14th. In addition, Mr. Colleen hosted 3 virtual lunchtime Q&A sessions, answering stakeholder questions regarding the verification process, along with 2 technical assistance webinars in August and September. DCR also produced a video tutorial which walked applicants through the verification request form step by step. We also published an eligibility checklist for requesters to use as they compile their documents. The review process is complete. 1,276 submissions have been reviewed. All newly verified social equity individual applicants were notified of their eligibility status and will have immediate access to all program benefits and resources. Next slide. In addition to the verification eligibility process, sorry about that, right? The SCP team has developed a standalone website for the BLC Compliance and Technical Assistance Program. On this site, you will be able to access the LMS, webinar registration, and more. In addition to that, the new BLC website will host additional resources such as the newly revamped Jobs Board, which will allow job seekers to find career opportunities at licensed cannabis businesses, and also allow our licensed operators to find social equity, local, and transitional workers. This feature will also support licensed operators to comply with their good faith hiring requirements. The website will also act as a portal to accessing one-on-one coaching registration, DCR's Canna Dispatch newsletter, video archives, and upcoming event information. The website launched November 1st, and an inaugural e-blast was sent out to verify social equity applicants, stakeholders, and other partners. Next slide. As previously mentioned, the BLC website provides a new home for all the great BLC content and programming that is available. Ethan Spalding will now present a brief walkthrough of the site so that you can all familiarize yourself with the platform. Ethan's website provides.
Hello, everyone. As Dr. B mentioned, I will be walking you through a quick presentation of the BLC website.
All familiarize yourself with the platform. This website provides.
Hello, everyone. As Dr. B mentioned, I will be. So if you start on the regular cannabis.lacity.org website, when you go to social equity program and then business licensing compliance assistance.
Hey, Ethan, sorry to interrupt you. It's Michelle, but I think you have the live stream on in the back. Just want to make sure because we're hearing the meeting as you're going through it.
Okay, did it stop now?
Yeah, it's great now. Thanks so much.
Sorry about that. So
All good.
We'll start over. So you start at the main website, cannabis.lacity.
As you're going through it.
Okay, did it stop now?
Yeah, it's great now. Thanks so much.
Sorry about that. So it's because I'm on the BLC website. So I'll go ahead and switch. So when I go to the new BLC website, everything that was packaged on the old website is just given a new home on this website. At the top, you can find the standard information on how to contact us, our address, phone number, the email of the social equity team, along with a button that'll quickly return you back to the website. I don't want to click that because it'll pop up the live stream of this meeting. You can also join for alerts and updates to get the kind of dispatch and other things. In the about section, just quick explanation of the program, our leader, Dr. Brown, explanation of our vendors who provide the wonderful content. In our news section, we have our Canna Dispatch, which Dr. B mentioned. We just released the November one this week. So we have it posted on the website for everyone to see, as well as all the prior months Canna Dispatches as well. When you go to the resources tab, this sort of mirrors how it looked on the website. We have our BLC section where you can find all the BLC programming, not just the LMS, but all of our coaching sessions and all of our webinars and things like that. Dr. B will go into more detail of all these things that we have later on in her presentation. So I don't want to dive too deeply into it. We have a button that takes you directly to the LMS. where you can access, as Dr. B mentioned, over 110 hours of content, a dedicated page for Canada dispatches, as well as a page where you can access any California social equity resources. And we have a tab for our employers and our employees. So if you are a job seeker, you can click here to find the job board. We currently have 32 job listings. We're adding more and more each week. So you're able to filter by category, by start date, job title. And as you can see, there's multiple companies, different types of jobs. We also, if you're a job seeker, have a resources page where you can sign up to attend our mixers. We also have interview training and as well as coaching for job seekers. So you can make yourself a better candidate when you're looking for these jobs. And then on the flip side, if you're an employer, we have this link that takes you directly to where you can post a job. So if you want to post jobs through our job board and want people to apply for these jobs, you can go ahead and use this form to enter in all the information about your job. And then once we receive that information, it will be posted on the job board. And then we also have some resources for you as well. So also invited to the mixers. There's also some employer toolkits that walk you through your good faith hiring requirements, as well as just different things to help you as you're hiring new people, onboarding them, training them, and retaining them as well. And then we also have a tab for our Grow Cannabis Career Fair, where when we have a new career fair, this is where all the information will go. And then the last real main section is our events page. And then this is where we have all the DCR events that are taking place. And you can click on the events and register. And I also want to highlight on December 3rd, we have our Los Angeles Cannabis Unite event. It's going to be one of our first in-person events in a while. So we have the information on the website, the entire flyer, it's a QR code where you can RSVP. And then you can register. And that's pretty much the main site. We have a carousel. It rotates through different available pages, just like on the main site, and as well as just some quick buttons to take you to the news, the job board, LMS, and the events. And I mean, that'll pretty much conclude my presentation, and I will turn it back over to Dr. B so she can finish explaining all the wonderful things that we're providing in the BLC program.
Thank you so much, Ethan. That was great. We're really excited about our BLC website. Thank you so much, everybody. Next slide. Okay, so our monthly BLC Canada Dispatch newsletter informs verified social equity applicants and licensees on the additional resources and webinars offered to them with local, state, and national cannabis news and resources. The November dispatch, we're calling it our fall winter webinar series. It was published this week, as Ethan alluded to, which included webinars on topics on tech tools, building cooperatives for social equity. That was held on the 1st. The State of California Department of Cannabis Control will post a live webinar tonight on the 3rd. The State of California Occupational Safety and Health Administration, better known as OSHA, will present on the 15th, and the State of California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, CDTFA, will present on November 17th. All webinars begin at 6 p.m. Next slide. Our Workforce Wednesdays, DCR continues to expand its workforce development network with our Workforce Wednesdays fall and winter series. On October 12th, we hosted our second virtual mixer of the series, which focused on real estate and business operations. Employers from businesses and institutions across the cannabis space provided insight to share experiences and best practices, while the social equity team remained on standby in our virtual Q&A booth, if you will, to answer questions and concerns. It creates a platform, these mixers, to not only highlight our business licensing and compliance resources, but also it puts a spotlight on other operators that inform attendees on workforce development tips, legal resources, financial literacy, coaching, and hiring. The event also provided an opportunity for cannabis companies to connect with job seekers to fill hiring needs from entry level to leadership roles, all while fulfilling their good faith hiring requirements. This was the second in the series of 4-month mixers that DCR will be hosting on the second Wednesday of each month through December. The next one will be held on November 9th. Next slide. We are thrilled to offer over 300 hours of free business, professional, and workforce development coaching with subject matter experts from a wide range of expertise. Coaching is available now in the following business formation categories: commercial leases and negotiation, contracts, and business structure. Next slide. Additionally, we offer a full suite of workforce development training for job seekers. The free coaching for job seekers includes interview training, resume review, resume writing assistance, and mock interviews with our coaches. Coaches will go over with job seekers the skills required for specific careers within the cannabis industry, job application processes, and where to find cannabis jobs. Next slide. DCR launched our newly renovated jobs board, which you just saw. We intend for the jobs board to function as a centralized hub, if you will, for Los Angeles cannabis operators and job seekers to find each other. It will allow job seekers to interact with many organizations at once, as well as have the peace of mind to know that they are applying for positions within a licensed operation. For employers, the job board is intended to support their overall staffing needs, as well as aid in their ability to meet local, transitional, and good faith hiring requirements. Next slide. Moving on. DCR continues to provide pro bono legal services for retail and delivery only applicants deemed eligible for further processing. To date, we have referred 51 applicants to the LA County Bar Association Smart Law Referral Service. Communications have been sent to all eligible applicants by email and text messages. If you did not receive this communication but believe you are eligible, please contact us at dcr.sec@lacity.org so we can assist you. Next slide. This is a screenshot of the page where you can sign up for these services. Please complete the online survey and upload the authorization agreement to complete the process. It's a really simple process. It's just 2 documents. Next slide. In our continuing effort to provide support services and resources that cultivate business success, and in addition to offering the pro bono resources, DCR launched our new low bono legal services program on October 6th. With this, folks will be able to receive up to 30 hours of legal consultation and services at a discounted rate of $35 an hour. Yes, you heard me right, $35 an hour. Outside of this program, attorney's fees can range from $350 to $750 per hour. For many, the time and affordability will be monumental in clarifying and mending many legal issues applicants present to us on a daily basis. We hope our newly verified social equity individual applicants take advantage of this initiative, as many of them embark on becoming operational businesses. Right. Finally, I would like to remind the Commission that with the funding for the 2022 Cannabis Equity Grant for local jurisdictions, we have worked diligently to develop our rental assistance grant program for verified social equity individual applicants and licensees. Now, in partnership with Elevate Impact LA, we will distribute $5 million in two separate tiers, Seed 1 and Seed 2. The Seed Rental Assistance grant funds may be used for the following purposes: pay rent or security deposit pursuant to a fully executed commercial lease for purposes of operating a licensed commercial cannabis storefront retail location. Funds can be used to finance up to 1 month of back rent on a fully executed lease, Funds can be used to secure a binding letter of intent by paying the required security deposit. Funds can be used to assist with build-out or construction costs for the purposes of renovating a location to operate a licensed commercial cannabis storefront location. Now, build-out costs are available and can be used as long as estimates and/or unpaid invoices for each construction budget item are submitted with the grant application. Next slide. One will utilize $4 million in funding to provide financial assistance to Phase 3 Retail Round 1, verified social equity individual applicants and licensees. Now, as part of the application process this year, we have included an educational requirement component where applicants will access our learning management system to complete 3 academic courses. One on business planning, leasing and contract negotiations and licensing. They will also have an option to complete an elective course outside of the suggested topic. If they choose to do so, applicants will complete a comprehensive quiz on each subject and submit their completion certificates prior to receiving financial disbursements up to $50,000. Next slide. Now, C2 will utilize $1 million in funding to provide financial assistance to verified social equity individual applicants who are applying for all other license types who have an executed lease. C2 applicants will be required to only fulfill one educational course requirement, and the course will be commercial leases and contracts negotiations parts 1 and 2. They need to do this prior to receiving the grant disbursement of $10,000. Next slide. Now, our goal with this installment of the Cannabis Equity Grant is to assist our qualified entrepreneurs with securing and maintaining social equity-owned compliant property and businesses. Awarding people up to $50K has the ability to change the trajectory of businesses that are in dire need of rental assistance right now. With that, I'm excited to announce that we officially launched the Seed Rental Assistance Grant Program on September 30th. We hosted a series of lunch and learn training webinars since the application period opened to walk applicants through the process. We will continue to provide additional training sessions and reminders on an as-needed basis. Slide. Updates. I am pleased to report that the program has received an amazing response thus far. There are a total of 145 seed rental assistance grant applicants that are currently pending approval. Out of the 145, 105 are seed 1 and 40 are seed 2. As a reminder, the applicant period will close March 30th, 2023. And with that, I will turn it back over to President An. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. A lot of information, a lot of great updates, a lot of good news all around. At this time, I want to open up to the commissioners for any questions or deliberations. Dr. Brown, I just want to again thank you and commend you and your team for putting together such a robust program. You know, not only do we have now funding, we have now training, we also have legal services, and so we're now beginning to see a full suite of services offered to our social equity applicants to get them up and running and put them on the path to success. But I'm really happy to see that we're taking a more expansive view on the social equity program. What I mean by that is in the beginning, especially, we were focused so much on the applicants and supporting the applicants, the social equity entrepreneurs. But really, in the way I view it, is it's actually beyond that. You've got a lot of folks that are in these impact communities of color, but they do not have the desire or the wherewithal to really engage in a cannabis license or entrepreneurial activities. And so I'm so happy to see that there are things beyond support for cannabis entrepreneurs, such as the job training programs that you have in place, because really social equity goes beyond just license holders. There's going to be job opportunities and other economic opportunities within the cannabis industry, far beyond the actual operators. We need cultivators, we need bud tenders, and we need all the different employees that support the industry. And that's providing opportunities for the social equity communities at large. And so I really want to just commend you for taking that broader approach and thinking holistically about the solution and the problems we're trying to solve here. So I just want to thank you for that and just highlight your work there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's a team effort, and we are moving forward day by day, and we're seeing progress day by day. So thank you all.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Brown, thank you again to you and your team. At this time, we'll move on to item number 4. This is a report from DCR on the licensing program.
Good afternoon, President On and Commissioners. Jason Kleen, Assistant Executive Director for the Department of Cannabis Regulation. Next slide, please. So first, I'm going to start with an update on the department's administrative functions. Our vacancy rate is currently 40%. We have 35 out of our 58 authorized positions filled. In order to reduce our vacancy rate below 20%, we still need to fill 12 additional positions to reach a staffing level of 47. We recently completed interviewing multiple candidates for the Senior Management Analyst, Senior Project Coordinator, and Communications vacancies. We've done multiple conditional job offers that are pending background checks, and 2 candidates have accepted DCR's job offers. Additionally, the Personnel Department recently certified a new Management Analyst list, and we've already submitted our request to interview off of that list. So hopefully we will get a list of candidates and begin those interviews later this month. If not, we'll begin those interviews in December. But we do plan to complete those interviews before the end of the calendar year. And pending conditional job offers and background checks, hopefully we will be adding additional personnel to work down that vacancy rate. Additionally, the executive team led by Director Garakian, Social Equity Program Director, Dr. Brown, as well as Rocky Wiles, who oversees the Compliance and Enforcement Division, are looking to fill their critical vacancies utilizing the Management Analyst and Management Assistant lists. So we're looking to kind of, one, reduce the vacancy rates, but really give the department the personnel that they need in order to be successful in our various missions. Additionally, our proposed budget is due to the mayor's office before the end of this month. So we would like to present our proposed budget and our budget letter at the first meeting. I believe it's going to be on December 8th of next month, once we have all of that information compiled. Next slide, please. Just a brief update on some of our licensing programs. We began accepting renewal applications on September 2nd. The regular renewal window closed yesterday, and we received over 700 renewal records covering over 1,400 different licensed commercial cannabis activities. So our team has a lot of work ahead of them. As part of the 2023 renewal process, our licensees were required to create their legal business entity records. To date, 399 of those records have been submitted. Folks are starting to review those legal entity records to match them up against the 2022 license history. And provided that there's no modifications, we're going to begin to activate those legal business entity records. This is one of the new record types that the director rolled out earlier this year to reduce the processing times for our application processes, as well as to simplify the modification process. And lastly, specifically for our social equity applicants, by moving the legal entity review and equity share review off of the application, it reduces the application fees and it allows for prospective social equity applicants to request their equity share before they've even submitted a temporary approval application record or pre-application review record. And I know Vice President Mason brought it up in an earlier item, but that's one of the ways that the department has tried to reconfigure how we collect information and process it to the benefit of all applicants, to reduce the holding times that they may have to incur while they pursue licensure both at the local and state level. So by moving as many things away from the application process that could be handled outside of the application process, which then could be utilized during it, is one way that we're hoping to save applicants time and money so that they can be successful at the local level. Transitioning into our eligibility verification process, over 500 social equity individual applicants have been verified to register for the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery. DCR is still updating the website. Folks I know have inquired about why statuses are changing. I am manually updating the website based on the reconciliation from our DCR licensing portal and the statuses that our analysts have assigned to folks as they've completed their review. So in order to keep the table up and not take it down and then basically refresh it, I'm manually going in and updating the statuses. And I expect that we'll be done with that over this weekend. The default website status is unverified. We didn't want to give people false hope by giving them a status that they were a social equity applicant. So the default is the no for the responses, and they're unverified. And of course, as I get through my list and I have less than 100 to go, I will be updating the website to provide the most up-to-date information. We will also add to the website a new column to identify which of the verified social equity individual applicants eligible to participate in the lottery have submitted their lottery registration record. That is information that folks have started to ask for. So we'll get that posted to the website as well. And again, hopefully everything will be updated on the website over this weekend. To date, out of the over 500 people who are eligible to submit a record, 353 have already created their lottery registration records. So about 70% of the folks that are verified to register have submitted the records. And of course, we will continue to accept those lottery registration records through November 23rd at 4 p.m. And we will be sending out reminder communications to the folks that are eligible to remind them that they are eligible to register for the lottery. Next slide, please. Now I'm just gonna provide some of the information that we've been providing through the technical assistance webinars, which we started on August 31st. The verification process, as it's articulated in the code, was intended to facilitate DCR's administration of the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery. For the purposes of Municipal Code Section 104061C, in order to participate in the lottery, folks had to have a qualifying arrest or a conviction, as well as meet one of the other criteria. DCR did allow for folks to submit their eligibility verification request without a qualifying arrest or conviction, so that DCR may be able to verify them to participate in other social equity programming, as well as apply for the non-storefront delivery, as well as other commercial cannabis activities that are limited to social equity participants. Our priority has been to identify folks with the qualifying arrest or conviction and then process those requests first. In addition to processing over 500 of the requests that are eligible to participate in the lottery, we have started to process the request for folks that do not have the qualifying arrest or conviction, which is a prerequisite for the lottery. And to date, we've already identified 28 folks that are eligible to apply for non-storefront delivery, as well as have access to the learning management system, and then start to participate in social equity programming. I anticipate over the coming weeks that number will increase. I don't know how much it's going to increase, but it will increase. And again, as we start to verify folks that aren't eligible for the lottery but are eligible to participate in social equity program and apply for non-storefront delivery, the website will be updated. So that list will be changing over time based on how DCR is processing those requests. I do want the public and the commission to understand that in order to participate in the lottery, you did have to have the qualifying arrest or a conviction. And those are the only folks that had to be verified and processed in order for us to move forward with 104.061C. Everybody else who doesn't have that qualifying arrest or a conviction, that's kind of a secondary review for the department, which could allow for folks to get into the social equity program a few months earlier than us reopening the process, as the director stated, next February. When we do reopen the process, we will be accepting eligibility verification requests from folks that did participate in this process who may have not uploaded complete tax returns with all of their schedules. They may have only uploaded one page of a multi-page document. That will give them the opportunity to re-request eligibility verification and then hopefully submit the necessary documentation to become part of our social equity program. Next slide, please. So there's a couple of different ways for prospective social equity individual applicants to know whether or not they've been identified to participate in the program. The first way is to log into their DCR licensing user account, navigate to My Account, and then look at the 2022 SEIA status. So here's an example of one of our test accounts where the status is set to verified -arrest conviction. Next slide, please. For folks that have been verified, they do have the ability to, one, register for the lottery, and then two, they can start to prepare their DCR licensing portal records so that if they are selected, they will have a jump start on submitting all of the necessary documents and moving forward in the actual application process. One of the things that we recently rolled out was a change to the business tax registration certificate process. Previously, folks were not allowed to apply for a business tax registration certificate until they actually filed a pre-application review record or a temporary approval application record. In order to give folks a jump start on getting into the application and licensing processes, we have negotiated a new process with the Office of Finance, whereby prospective applicants can go ahead and complete the business tax certificate application. They can email it to the Department of Cannabis Regulation, to our DCR licensing at lacity.org account. Our staff will review the application to make sure that the employer identification number is listed, the California Secretary of State entity number is listed, and ideally, the prospective applicant would already have a seller's permit issued by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, but the Office of Finance did notify us that if somebody has not received their seller's permit yet, because there may be a backlog in issuing those, that they will still accept the BTRC application without it. Next slide, please. We've tried to put some helpful links here so that folks can navigate to the different document requirements. So on this slide, we do have where folks can access the business tax certificate application form, a link to the Office of Finance's FAQs for the business registration requirements, a link to the Internal Revenue Service that has helpful hints on how to start a business, and then the California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development also has different programming to assist folks in moving forward with permit and regulatory compliance through various assistance programs. So those are some of the resources available to prospective applicants and licensees. Next slide, please. This is just an overview of the business tax registration certificate application. In order to register for a business tax number, you do have to provide the type of business, whether it's an individual, corporation, LLC, or partnership, provide basic information to the Office of Finance, and then provide a description of what your business will be. Once Finance has received these applications, they'll review them for completeness, and they've been issuing master account numbers within 7 to 10 days. And more recently, we're seeing them turn around in 4 to 5 days, these master account numbers, which then are emailed to the requester from our DCR licensing account. It's important for folks to have their business tax registration certificate numbers because you need to have one of those to remit payment and for Finance to process that payment. Some of the delays that folks experienced when they got an invoice from the department was they hadn't already registered for a business tax registration account, and ultimately Finance was unable to reach them in order to apply those payments. So now we're requiring folks to get these master account numbers in advance, and then they can add it to any of the records that they're creating, especially the legal business entity record, which is a prerequisite to submitting a pre-application review record. So we're trying to help applicants and licensees help themselves by making the process easier and making sure that we have the necessary information that we can share with other city agencies so that folks don't get tied up in those other agencies' programs. Next slide, please. For folks that do have a BTRC, they can go in and create a legal business entity record by logging into the DCR licensing portal and then clicking on apply for a license. Next slide. From there, you can select the business legal entity record from the drop-down menu. Next slide. Once you get into the legal business entity record, you'll be required to provide the Excella Citizen Access Reference ID number for the business entity. On this screen, you can identify whether or not you want to request equity share review. You can provide your BTRC master account and then your Secretary of State entity identification number. It also gives you the option to designate whether or not you want to identify an authorized agent. Next slide, please. This is a breakdown of the different elements that go into creating a legal business entity record. So I covered 1 through 5 on the last slide. For number 6, folks get to identify the owner's primary personnel and, if applicable, their authorized agent. They also get to upload all of the primary personnel, ownership, business formation documents, operating agreements, and everything else to this record. If they requested equity share review, they'll also be required to upload their social equity application specific documents, information, and forms. Once the record has been submitted, DCR will generate an invoice for applicable fees based on the selections made during the intake process. For existing applicants and licensees who have already paid their temporary approval application fee, we are not charging folks to create the legal business entity record, provided the information uploaded to the record matches the information submitted on their temporary approval application. If it doesn't match, we will assess the modification fee to do an ownership change, and then we can go ahead, once the fee is paid, review the information for completeness, and then approve that modification on this legal business entity record. If they've submitted a renewal record, once we've approved the modification, those changes will also get pushed down to any of their open applications and licenses. So this process was intended to One, allow for us to do these modifications, the equity share review, separate and apart from the application process. But it was also intended to make the modification process and the application process significantly smoother, because any change being made to this record can automatically be pushed to any of the associated licenses and applications. So folks no longer have to submit a modification request for each of their open records. It can all be done directly through this legal entity record. So that's one of the ways the director is reducing cost and making the department more efficient. Next slide, please. For the folks that do have a status of verified arrest conviction, they can go in now and submit their lottery registration record. Again, you have to log into the DCR licensing portal and enter your user account information. Next slide, please. Once you've logged in, you can click on activities. Next slide. Once activities has been loaded, click on apply for a license. Next slide. Once you've clicked on apply for a license, you'll be taken to the general disclaimer page. You'll have to go through and read the disclaimer, and then at the bottom, click on I have read and accepted the above terms, and then click continue. Next slide. So once you've accepted our general disclaimer, you'll be taken into a list of different record types that can be created. If you want to register for the lottery, you will go ahead and click on lottery registration. And then next slide. And then for now, the only lottery we have open is, of course, phase 3 retail round 2. The code does contemplate DCR's ability to administer future lotteries. We could administer a future lottery for the remaining cultivation licenses. We could administer another lottery for any additional retail storefront licenses that could become available. So for now, there's only one option. There could be additional options in the future based on the code. Click continue once you've clicked on the lottery registration record. When you go into the lottery registration record, it will be pre-populated with information based on whether or not your user profile status has been set to verified arrest conviction or not. If your ACA reference ID is not set to verified arrest arrest conviction, you are not eligible to register or participate in the lottery. So what will happen is the fields will say ineligible, and it will not allow you to register for the lottery. And if you attempt to continue beyond this page, you will get an error message. Next slide, please. If you are, if your status is set to verified arrest conviction, then you are eligible to participate in the lottery. It'll be pre-populated. It'll say you're eligible. It'll allow you to register for the lottery, and then you can click continue. Next slide, please. Once you've clicked continue, it'll take you to a summary screen. All you have to do from here is go ahead and click on continue again. Next slide. And that's all it takes to register for the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. The system already knows who's eligible to submit their information and create the lottery registration record. The lottery registration record number is effectively LAL, L for lottery, and then the user's ACA reference contact ID number. There are no fees to register for the lottery. And as long as somebody timely registers for the lottery, they'll be eligible to participate. We have seen some duplicate records get submitted. Even if you create more than one record, your duplicate records will be closed. You only get one spot in the lottery per person. So if folks see people submitting more than one lottery registration record, at the end of the day, you only get one entry into the lottery. So I just want the public to be aware that if a friend tells you that they submitted 5 records, they still only get one spot in the lottery. The other 4 will be closed out. Next slide, please. This is just the lottery registration workflow. So once the lottery registration record is created, it'll sit there in that status. We're doing a third level of review for all of these lottery registration records where we'll go back through the documentation submitted to ensure that the person, one, has the qualifying arrest or conviction, and two, meets at least one of the other criteria. Once we've done that third review, we will go ahead and mark it eligible, and then the record will move forward to lottery participant, and then it will be pending the lottery administration. If we determine that somebody registered a record and they're not eligible to participate in the lottery, we will mark the lottery registration record ineligible and we will close it out. Folks that are not eligible to participate in the lottery will not get to participate in the lottery, and we are doing our due diligence to do an additional level of review before we move people forward to allow for them to participate in the lottery. Next slide, please. If somebody is selected through the lottery, they'll have up to 1 year to complete the pre-application review process in any community plan area that has not reached undue concentration. This, of course, does not, the pre-application review process does not require somebody to have site control. So, you know, you don't have to have an executed lease. You didn't have to purchase the property in order to go through this. If you are deemed eligible if your pre-application review record is deemed eligible for further processing, you're afforded an additional year to submit your application. The director did ask the city council to consider a standalone annual application process that, if approved, will do a few things for these social equity applicants. One, it will reduce the application processing time by at least 3 to 6 months from what it is today. Today's process is a sequential process where you go through pre-app, you have to submit your temporary approval application. Once you get temporary approval, then and only then are you eligible to go into the environmental review. Once you've completed the environmental review, then and only then are you eligible to submit an annual application. And once DCR has reviewed the annual application and made a recommendation to the appropriate party, then and only then can that determination be appealed and or the environmental analysis associated with it. And then once any of those appeal periods have lapsed, then and only then do you get your annual license, which is a prerequisite to meet the state's annual application requirements. So based on the change to state law, folks are not going to be able to have a complete annual state application until they get an annual license for the city. So one of the recommendations that was held in committee earlier this week was a recommendation to create a standalone annual application process that would allow an applicant to submit all of the documentation for the TA process, the environmental review process, and the annual application process at the beginning. And then DCR can start processing all of that documentation with the hopes of being able to make a recommendation either to the director or to this commission to issue the annual license so that folks can navigate through the process much more quickly, so that even if these social equity individual applicants don't submit a provisional license application to the state by next March, they will still have the ability to more quickly navigate through the annual application process without having to incur additional holding fees. It's really important for the city council to update the municipal code to give us the expressed authority to consolidate and streamline the process, especially for the folks that aren't going to be eligible to get a provisional license beginning of next year. Because really, temporary approval is just the local temporary license. It doesn't give somebody the ability to operate unless they meet other permitting requirements and they have the corresponding provisional state license. So we don't want to put people in a bad position or make their ability to meet our requirements any longer than they have to be. So that's a lot of what the department put into that Plum Committee report. And hopefully the committee will consider some of those other recommendations so that we can continue to streamline our process, make it easier and more accessible for applicants and licensees. And then of course, reduce the licensing fees so that folks don't have more out-of-pocket costs than they need to have, at least at the local level. I do want to just, next slide, please. I do want to let folks know that we began the technical assistance webinars for the lottery registration process on August 31st. We had 4 technical assistance webinars leading up to the opening of the lottery registration process. Those recordings and the presentation materials are available on DCR's website. We will be doing a lottery technical assistance webinar next Wednesday, November 9th, where I'm going to go through the procedures and protocol that we're going to utilize to conduct the lottery. I will share preliminary undue concentration numbers during this webinar, and we will share additional information about how we plan to administer the lottery. For folks that have been verified that are not ultimately eligible to participate in the lottery or are not selected through the lottery, the director will be opening up the PCN process, which will be an outlet for folks who were not selected through the lottery to have the ability to participate in programming and pursue a public convenience or necessity finding from the council, which would then give DCR the ability to accept a temporary approval application for retail storefront activities from that applicant. And as the director mentioned earlier, she's also planning to reopen the eligibility verification process so that folks that were unable to get verified in the 2022 process can get verified as part of a 2023 process. And with that, I would like to turn the presentation back over to President On. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Killeen. A lot of new updates. Lot to digest there. Do we have any questions for Mr. Killeen from the commission?
Hey, Jason, this is Commissioner Crockett. Thank you as always for such a thorough breakdown. I'm curious, and I'm sorry if I missed it. Was there any update to the emblem program or just general status on emblemating? And again, apologies if I missed that.
That is a wonderful question. Thank you, Commissioner Crockett. I did not provide any updates on the emblem program. The emblem program is available for the businesses that have a retail storefront license. They are eligible to proactively apply for their health permit and emblem through the county's public health department. The county's public health department is also accepting public health or the health permit applications from phase 2, phase 3, round 1 applicants and other applicants that are engaged in non-retail activities at this time. We do intend to make this a mandatory requirement beginning next year. And in order for folks to basically continue in the process, they'll have to start going through the public health department because we made it voluntary so that folks that were ready to go for the streamlined process could voluntarily go, and it was a one shot to get through the streamlined process. We haven't seen the level of health permit applications get submitted as we had originally expected. And we do want to encourage our licensees to get into this queue as quickly as possible, because the county will be opening up their own pilot program for the unincorporated areas next year. And of course, the county public health will be doing their own public health permit inspections for their applicants and licensees. So get ahead of the rush, get your stuff into public health as soon as you're ready, because this is a requirement for the annual application process. And of course, if you don't have your health permit, you're not going to have a complete annual application, and you're going to put yourself behind the 8 ball if you don't get it in order to meet the state's annual licensing requirements. So thank you for allowing me to provide that update.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Clean, I have a technical question. Once the renewals are filed, are the modifications available to be filed shortly thereafter, or what's the timing look like for modifications in the renewal context?
Wonderful question. So there's kind of a bifurcated approach now. So the renewal record is tied to time, place, manner for that entity. So the renewal record, once the renewal fees are paid, gets updated such that it's temporarily approved again. And then they have the ability to submit the location-specific modifications against that record. Alternatively, for ownership modifications, changes to the legal entity name, et cetera, you have to have created your legal business entity record. And then once that has been created, and then we've workflowed it a step forward, they have the ability to submit modification request against it. Since what we've been telling consultants and law firms and licensees is, if you already know that you plan to modify your ownership or your primary personnel, when you create your legal business entity record, just go ahead and submit the updated information to that. So when your analyst reviews your documentation against your 2022 documentation, they'll know that it's been modified, they'll assess the modification fee, and then you can immediately get invoice, pay the modification fee, and they can start to do their review. And then once they've completed their review, they'll be able to apply those changes to your renewal record.
Okay, so there's a distinction depending on the type of modification, right? So if in the case of a location change following the renewal, folks can submit the location-specific address and then proceed with the modification. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But with the in the case of ownership changes or personnel changes, you're saying that after the renewal's filed, then you can create a legal business entity record?
That is correct. So beginning in September, the legal business entity record was created to consolidate all of the ownership, primary personnel, and business related information into a standard record. By putting it on the record, we no longer have to get all of the ownership, primary personnel related information from applicants as part of the renewal process. So it's less work that they have to do. And then once the record is established and active, only when somebody is making a change do they actually have to submit a modification request for DCR to process that modification and consider the change. And that was intended to streamline and make the process easier, as well as reduce the fees for applicants and licensees.
So you were saying the modification should be filed concurrently with the ownership, with the creation of the business entity record?
Yeah, so
okay.
Because we're storing the ownership information on the legal business entity record, and this is a new record type, for folks that have pending ownership modifications or want to submit an ownership modification, when they create their legal business entity record, they can just give us the updated documentation based on the way they want the entity to look. We'll compare it against their 2022 record. If we see it's different, we'll assess the applicable modification fee, but we already have the documentation before us that we need to review. And then of course, once the fee is paid, we can begin working on it. And then once those changes are approved, then they just get pushed down to all of the applications and licenses that may be associated with that legal entity. So it's a much more efficient way to review the information, to push those changes out to all of the applicable records, and then reduce the cost to our applicants and licensees.
Got it. Okay. And is the system set up now so that what you've just described, the uploading of the documents can all be accomplished as you've described it?
Yes.
Okay.
And, you know, to Vice President Mason's point earlier, for folks that are looking to participate in the lottery, those folks have the ability to request a BTRC immediately. You know, if they're going to pursue a license as a legal entity, they can create their legal entity record. Once a BTRC number has been assigned, they can start uploading their ownership, primary personnel, business formation documentation. And then, you know, if they are pursuing a social equity license, we can then, of course, start the equity share review so that when they do actually get selected and go through and want to submit their application, that work has already been done. And then we're really just looking at owner attestations, indemnification agreement, business premises diagram, lease, and then doing the initial inspection so that they could be eligible for temporary approval and their status of local compliance underway.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kling.
And just the last piece of that is the director was very cognizant of the refreshing of the quarterly map data. And I do want to let the commission know that we downloaded the new sensitive use data as of November 1st, which is the data that will be good through the beginning of February. We'll refresh the data again February 1st. I will be providing the Department of City Planning, who manages our map, that updated sensitive use information, plus all of the renewal information that's been submitted. And we anticipate that the DCR licensing map will be refreshed by mid-November before DCR administers the lottery, so that at least the folks that do get selected through the lottery will have, one, access to the most current information, and then two, our undue concentration numbers will be as reflective as possible so that folks know where they may be able to submit a pre-application review record, as well as know what sensitive uses could be out there surrounding their proposed business premises location.
Understood. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Vice President Mason.
Hello, Assistant Director Colleen. Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to follow or piggyback on Commissioner Crockett's question regarding the emblem program. I have to admit, I was a little disappointed that another layer of bureaucracy was inserted into the process, but and perhaps you covered it, so forgive me if I missed it. For people who have existing temporary approvals, do they have to apply to the county, or will they just receive their emblems?
They have to apply to the county. So in order to be eligible to receive an emblem, you have to meet the public health permit requirements. One of the things we negotiated with the county was for folks that have existing temporary approvals or have a status of local compliance underway by July 1st of this year, they were eligible to go through a streamlined process where the county would come out and do a site evaluation. If they pass their site evaluation, they would be eligible to receive their emblem and any corresponding health permits for what they wanted to be evaluated. If they didn't pass the site evaluation, then they would have to go through the county's full health permit process, which includes the plan check. We haven't seen as many folks participate in this process as necessary. But as the commission knows, compliance with fire code, health code, building code, those are all requirements for a complete application. So if folks don't go through this process, they're not going to be eligible to have a complete annual application with us, which means that we're not going to be in a position to make a recommendation either to the director or to this body to issue an annual license. And the longer people wait, the more likely it is that they're not going to meet the state's deadlines to actually transition from provisional licensure to annual licensure. So as I mentioned, we are going to make it a requirement beginning next year because this is something people are going to have to do. And compliance with these requirements is necessary to get to a complete annual application.
Thank you for that. How much overlap, compatibility, symmetry, if you will, is there between our processes and their processes with respect to emblem and the site inspections? I'm just concerned that, a process that I presumed would be rather user-friendly is going to be somewhat just another speed bump or a hurdle for already stressed applicants to have to overcome when, as Acting Director Gorakian said in the beginning, we're trying to run a program that is more compassionate.
So there is no overlap between DCR's processes and public health processes. So when we go out and do an inspection, especially for the temporary approvals, the initial inspection, we're looking for security camera systems for the rooms where cannabis activity will occur, and we're making sure that the business premises diagram matches up with the built environment. Of course, our folks are not fire code experts, building code experts, or public health experts. So we can't confirm that somebody complies with any of the other agencies' requirements, but there is not an actual overlap and there is no duplication of effort. What Rocky and her team have been doing on the compliance side is trying to bridge all of the different agencies and create a clearance checklist such that the applicant could go to the different agencies, submit the clearance sheet, and we could electronically route that so that when they get to public health knows that they comply with all of the local requirements to make the issuance and the scheduling of their health inspection more seamless. And Rocky's been doing an amazing job working with the other agencies and getting their buy-off, and we're really close to rolling that out.
Okay, thank you for your responses, and thank you to Rocky for your efforts in making this a little bit more palatable. I know that we can't always look into our crystal balls and see which direction the county is going to move on a matter or what their requirements may be, but I appreciate the responsiveness on the team's part. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Vice President Mason, I believe in Rocky's presentation, which we'll hear next, we'll cover more details about the emblem program, which you had referenced. So we're looking forward to hearing about that. Yeah, there are just a lot of concerns in terms of timing with the county health permit requirement and what that entails as it relates to the building inspections, change of use certificate of occupancy requirements. Those are things that from a timing perspective can be really problematic for a lot of these operators. And so definitely want to keep an eye on that and see how that develops over the next few weeks and months. Do we have any other questions? Final questions from Mr. Killeen? Okay, don't see any. Mr. Killeen, I want to thank you again for such a thorough presentation. A lot of technical aspects to digest there, but it was extremely thorough as usual. So thank you for that update. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the next and final item. This is item number 5. It's a report from DCR on the Compliance and Enforcement Program. Ms. Wiles, whenever you're ready.
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you and see you.
Okay, awesome. Well, good afternoon. Happy to be here. I guess now I will be making more regular appearances to give you updates on our newly formed Compliance and Enforcement Division. Since we are a new division in the department, I want to just give you an overview of the few things my staff and I are working on. And when I say that, I mean, it's, you know, as I'm listening to all these presentations, and I know you guys are well aware that we are a small department. We have a 3-person communication team that really helps all the other units. We have, you know, Jason's team who's doing an amazing job, Dr. Brown's team, amazing, everything that they're doing. And now, you know, my very small but very mighty team is joining forces, you know, in providing this third leg, if you will, for our department, which is compliance and enforcement. Next slide. So these are a few of the things that we're working on. As you can see, we are working on these town halls, and this is an effort that is basically led by our communications team and one of our vendors, MBI. We are also working and coordinating with the LA County Department of Public Health on the emblem program for cannabis retailers, as well as the health permit for non-retailers. We are always looking at our operational rules and regs and updating them. We are doing, we've started to do a lot of outreach to our current operators that hold temporary approval, and I'll be talking about that a little bit later. Continuing to make implementing enhancements to the cannabis complaint portal. We are currently seeing how working with our licensing team, who will be assisting us on an overtime basis to triage thousands of complaints that have been submitted since the beginning of when the department was created, because we hadn't had those resources. Now that we're putting this program together, we're going to go back and start cleaning up our complaint portal. We continue to develop forms and our procedures, internal and external. And, as we're doing all this, we obviously have to provide training to this, compliance and enforcement division staff. And we're looking to bring in a consultant who would help us with some, safety and tactical training, so that our compliance staff is empowered and does a good job when we do conduct our investigations and our compliance inspections. And we are continuing, as Jason mentioned, continuing to hire staff for all our divisions. Next slide, please. So first I wanted to talk about these town halls, and I put them first because I wanted to take this opportunity to emphasize that this unit is primarily tasked with compliance and enforcement of licensed operators. That means, operators, as you well know, operators with temporary approval. And this is a point that I make in these town halls, which is the following: that DCR plays a minor role in enforcement of unlicensed cannabis activity. We do participate in the cannabis and the mayor's cannabis enforcement task force. It is headed by the Mayor of Public Safety. And in this role, we verify locations upon request. Other agencies refer complaints of unlicensed businesses to LAPD. And we do obtain information from other agencies related to convictions, utility disconnections, etc. These are things that would affect issuance of a license. And we then communicate with our licensing team. So the town halls, the purpose of the town halls is to increase public awareness and education in a forum that provides meaningful engagement with direct feedback from our community members. We have, it's a total of 3 virtual town halls. We've held 2 so far. And these town halls have really allowed us to facilitate this discussion, about illicit cannabis operations in local communities. It's a place where we can share ideas on progressive enforcement, and we've also shared information about the Interim program. So we've done, our communications team has done outreach to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. In their newsletter, we have advertised these town halls. We've also I don't want to say we, because it's really our communications team. They have done a wonderful job doing outreach to council offices, so that we advertise these town halls in their newsletters and their social media sites. They've also advertised it in radio and social media, and we do provide Spanish interpretation. Present company right here. I've myself and Gidget Carranza, one of our public relations specialists, have can provide the Spanish translation as well. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you, Erin. As I mentioned, we have done 2 town halls so far. We have 1 more on November 10th. The first one was in the central area of the city. It was included Council Districts 1, 13, and 14. The last one was on October 28th, and that included Council Districts 8, 9, 10, and 15. And the last one is going to be on November 10th, and that's going to include Valley and West sides of the city, and that's council districts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, and 12. So all this information, along with some of the research and studies that are being conducted by our staff and possibly some of our vendors, will be incorporated into a report that will be sent back to the City Council on best practices and recommendations against illegal cannabis activity. Next slide. So one of the other things that we're working on is, as Jason mentioned, is coordinating with the health department. So we've executed our contract earlier this year with the LA County Department of Public Health, and it's their Cannabis Compliance and Enforcement Program, their CCEP. They permit and conduct these health and sanitation inspections of commercial cannabis facilities, and that includes all of their activities. Their program ensures that basic construction and equipment requirements are met at each of these facilities prior to issuing this public health permit. And it includes 2 annual inspections. In short, they review and approve plans for new commercial cannabis activity. And for our existing operators, they conduct site evaluations, as Jason mentioned, for pre-existing cannabis activities. And they also conduct routine inspections and complaint investigations for permitted facilities. The emblems that you're seeing, the pictures that you're seeing on the screen is what they issue to our operators once they have obtained their health permit. And they're required to post this in a public view. Next slide. They provide consultation to potential cannabis businesses and notify the public the store has received all required state and local licenses, permits, and other authorizations to become an authorized cannabis store. That's what this emblem does. I've included their website on that slide. Now they are, the county actually, when you go to this website, you will see the different municipalities that they work with, including City of Los Angeles, and they actually do list all the businesses that have received this emblem. We will provide that on our website, which we're currently building. So when the public sees this emblem, basically it means that the business has met all state, county, and city requirements. However, the absence of the emblem doesn't mean that the facility is not legal. We've, as you know, we've only just started the program, so it'll take a few months to get through all these retailers, which is currently, it's about 240 retailers. As Jason mentioned, this is a voluntary program, which is actually proven to be a challenge because not a lot of folks are raising their hand and volunteering to get evaluated and pay fees. However, as he mentioned, as Jason also mentioned, we are currently thinking about making this a requirement. It's really for, in the long run, it'll be better for our operators, because in my conversations with the county, they've mentioned that starting in June, they're going to be working with the unincorporated areas of the city. So they're going to start getting, and they're also a very small team. So they're going to start getting, overwhelmed, and they may not be able to give everybody, this handheld treatment that right now they're willing to do because it's a new program. And really, they're just working with the city of LA. The other, there's, I think, a handful of other municipalities that they're working with. They're not as obviously as big as the city of LA. So I would encourage everybody who's listening to this to give them a call, go on their website and sign up to get evaluated, so that next year when everybody's rushing to get into the program, you will have already finished finished with this process. Let me see, what else can I say about this? Yeah, you know, I've gone through the website. They have very good FAQs. So I would encourage everybody to visit the county's website to get more information on the program. Another challenge, and this might answer some of your questions, and Jason also mentioned this, we have been working with Building and Safety. So before an operator can receive the emblem, they have to basically show evidence that they have obtained all the permits that are required by other agencies in the city, right? So, for example, tenant improvement permits, change of use permits, and this becomes more critical when it comes to our cultivators and manufacturers. But it's still true for retailers. So in our conversations, we've been meeting with Building and Safety so that we can help our operators and maybe take some of this, processing burden from them. We have come to sort of an agreement that they'll allow my staff to do all the research when it comes to, the permits, their existing permits for specific business premises locations. We are compiling all that information, filling out this form, and then sending it over electronically to Building and Safety, who then looks at this research and makes the determination as to whether or not the business premises is okay for retail. Now, this is only for retail uses. We are not going to be able to do this for the non-retail. We will be sending a communication with more instructions and information as far as how our non-retail operators will have to go through and contact Building and Safety so that they can get confirmation that their current use is allowed by city records. But we will release that information in the next few weeks. So, we really do hope that hopefully before the end of the year, if not beginning of next year, we will have at least tackled more than half of these retailers. And that's my hope, that before the end of this year, we will have issued at least half of these emblems once we really get started working with Building and Safety in the county. Next slide. So I also mentioned in the beginning that some of the things that we're doing is updating the rules and regs and doing some research, some outreach to our current operators. So some of the things that we have incorporated into our rules and regs are some of these operational requirements. And what you're seeing on the screen is an attestation that is required of all the operators that are that currently hold temporary approval. Basically, this attestation says that they have received, read, and understand the operational requirements in the rules and regulations. And it is signed by at least one of the owners, and it is a requirement that they provide the rules and regs to the folks that are involved in the day-to-day running of the business. The second form is something that we are requiring of our delivery operators. We have found that in our conversations with LAPD, this is something that will help them if they stop one of these delivery drivers. They're able to show a placard, and that's the last item you see here on the right. It'll have a QR code, and if they scan it, it'll take them directly to the form that they have submitted to us that lists all the employees and the car, make, and model for the their delivery vehicles. So we hope that this will be a way to help LAPD and differentiate between the legal and illegal delivery businesses out there. Next slide. Some of the other things we're working on are, and I think I mentioned this before, is we're working with our with ITA. Again, they also have a very small team, and one of my team members is working 2 to 3 days a week, hours on end, in trying to improve the complaint portal. We're really trying to make it, to simplify it. We've gone from, I believe, I think there was like 10 different tabs that somebody trying to submit a complaint would have to go through. Now we have basically 4 very simple forms that they have to fill out. Here's 2 of those 4 forms. It's just the name and phone and an email, phone number. They don't have to provide an address, or, I mean, there was like so many questions before. That would be on the first part of the form, and then just a description of the complaint. Next slide, please. And then just a little bit about the business, and if they want to upload any type of file, video, photos, they can do that. So I'm hoping that this will be done also before the end of the year. What you're seeing on the screen is already implemented and in production, but we still have a lot more work to do. But it's still, it's a big improvement from what was there before. We're also making a lot of changes in the back end for us to be able to, triage and investigate and keep our notes and provide statuses to folks that submit complaints. They'll be able to come back into the complaint portal and see what the status is. In addition to that, whenever we update a status, the complainant is going to receive an updated status email if they provide that email. Otherwise, they can come back and and look at the complaint portal and see what's going on with their complaint. So these are some of the enhancements that we're working on. Big wish list. Next slide, please. Oh, I guess that is the end of all my slides.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wiles. Commissioners, questions and deliberations for Ms. Wiles?
And I know that Jason already took all the heat for the emblem program, so.
Yeah.
Jason.
Hi, Ms. Wells. Thank you for your presentation. Regarding enforcement
Vice President Mason, can you hear me? We're having some, there's some feedback on your end, I believe.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect, there we go.
Okay, I'm using a headset. Individuals who consider themselves to be a sovereign state and therefore not subject to local, state, or federal law with respect to cannabis activity as a retailer, dispenser, the whole industry, the profit side. Has there been any discussion about how to address those entities with respect to enforcement?
I have not been involved in any conversations related to that. I don't know if our city attorneys have an opinion on that, or Jason, but no, I have not at all been involved in any of those conversations.
Jason Clean, Assistant Executive Director. It's our opinion that any location within the city of Los Angeles is required to meet our permitting and licensing requirements to operate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? None, okay. Ms. Wells, I just have a few, I guess, comments or observations. Number one, I really love the idea of the delivery decal program. It will provide officers with a way of determining if these are lawfully employed drivers carrying around lawful products. And so I know that there's a growing there's growing activity in the illicit delivery space. I think that's going to be helpful. The second thing, with regard to the emblem program, I think it's great that we're doing this, but I think really the key here is going to be the participation. If we make it voluntary, but there's not enough participation, renders it kind of meaningless, right? Because the consumers, if they know that there are clearly legal dispensaries that are not displaying the emblem, then it kind of makes the whole point moot. So I think we've got to look at that. And I know in the beginning, as we're rolling it out, we can't get 100% participation right off the bat. But I think we got to keep an eye on that. Participation is going to be critical.
I agree, especially in light of the fact that the annual licensing is, it's happening next year. This is going to be a requirement to getting an annual license. So I do think that we're going to have to make this a requirement.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't imagine it. If I was a retailer, I would want to proudly display that I'm a lawful and legal licensed entity.
Yeah. And
I would like to echo that because I don't want to go into too much detail, but I know someone who obtained some cannabis that they call wax. So the content was a little off kilter. I won't say off kilter, but it was a little potent. And as a result, she suffered a psychotic break. And this happened maybe end of September, beginning of October. And this young person is still in recovery. So I know that businesses probably don't want to hear this, but it does need to be mandatory. We can't afford as a society to keep having these kinds of incidents happen because people are purchasing product and they don't know that it's really certified or legitimate, or it could cause serious side effects because it's not appropriately labeled or there's no emblem, and so they don't know who they're purchasing from and whether or not that entity has passed any sort of regulatory requirements.
Yeah, and let me just restate this because I want to clarify that the health department, those permits are required. The initial rollout, we made it voluntary just to get kind of, get people used to the idea. We wanted to just roll it out slowly. But given the fact that we haven't got a lot of participation, I think we're going to make this a requirement sooner than later. But the health permit requirement has always been there. It's just how we were rolling it out was more initially voluntary, but I believe the code says that by the end of next year or the year after that, they have to have this health department permit. We just need to go back and look to see how this syncs with, with the county, with what is happening in our department, the annual license rollout, all this, and we will come back and give you an update. But I am concerned that we've only actually issued 2 emblems out of 240. So,
Ms. Walls, I'm curious though, has there been any pushback from our license holders with respect to the emblem program? Is there a reason why they would not want to display this?
You know what? Lover operators, big procrastinators. And I've talked to the county. I've asked them, what are you seeing out there? Why are people more, up to calling you guys? And she basically said that people, because it's voluntary, they're just putting it off. Like they don't want to deal with it now. They're just putting it off.
Yeah.
So.
I find that interesting given the outcry against enforcement, about enforcement and against illegal operators, and the push from the community to have the department increase their enforcement against illegal operators. This is an effective tool in identifying who's legal and who's not. So it's interesting that it's not being embraced as enthusiastically and as widely and as quickly as we thought it would be.
Right. And I mean, and the other part, you know, and we have to take some, I think, responsibility as a city is the fact that, you know, we need to verify that they do have all the permits from other agencies. And so that has been a challenge also. So working with building and safety and trying to get them to agree to work with us to do this verification on behalf of, you know, the operator to speed things up. You know, it's taken a couple months to get to this point where we're now, you know, talking and having and doing things electronically before I can contact an operator and tell them, hey, you know, building and safety says that you need a permit, and then we'll have to go from there. And this is where Dr. Brown's program really, really helps because she has, she and her team put together webinars where they explain the processes, you know, building a safety process, fire department process. So, you know, that's the other, I think, reason why it's been a little difficult to get the program, you know, off the ground.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think from my perspective, either we do it or we don't. I think that from a consumer standpoint, we have to get to the point where we have full participation so that the emblem, when it's displayed, that is the definitive sign that it is in fact a legal business. And the absence of an emblem should signify to the consumer that that is an illegal operation. And it just has to be one way or the other. So I think that's, in my mind, the way this has to be set up. Anything in between, you know, it causes confusion, because if you have some operators that are legal but they don't have the emblem, then how does a consumer discern which is which? So I think we have to be very black and white about that. And I understand it may take some time to get there, but that's my opinion on that issue. And Vice President Mason, I'm glad you brought up that's the incident that you described. Because I do believe, and just from everything that I understand about the illicit market and what drives consumer behavior to the illicit market, a lot of it's driven by a lack of education, I think, is one thing, but also there's economic factors as well. So I think one of the things that we need to do is, if we want a meaningful emblem program and to achieve those goals, we have to support it with number one, kind of an educational program, get the word out there so that consumers understand what the emblem means, what it signifies, but also some of the dangers of shopping at an illicit store, the illicit products that may be harmful, the case that Vice President Mason had just described. But I think it's got to be more than just an emblem. I think we've got to back it up and support it with, whether it's a PSA or some sort of educational support behind that, so people understand that it can be potentially dangerous and really affect your health because of the nature of the products that are in there. Because if you don't do that, my feeling is a lot of folks probably do know that they're shopping at an unlicensed store, but they're driven there because it's cheaper products, frankly, because of the lack of taxation, a whole host of reasons why, right? So I think we should keep an eye on that, and we shouldn't think that the emblem program will solve a lot of this. We have to really think about what drives consumer behavior. Why are they shopping at these illicit stores? And I do believe by many accounts, and I've talked to a lot of folks in the industry, it's because the products are cheaper, and people increasingly, especially in today's economy, are increasingly very price sensitive. And so we've got to figure out, you know, solutions there. And that's why tax reform, I think, it's been such a hot topic. When you talk to legal operators, it's an unequal playing field. And so they're having a really heck of a time out there trying to compete.
Well, we still have a lot of consumers who are under 21. And I think that is also one of the things that fuels the success of the illicit market. But I wanted to echo, I think I've been serving with President On for too long, because it's like all of the things I wanted to say. He said we do need an awareness program. And I'm wondering who's going to take the lead on that. I don't want the conversation to just stop with what we need. I want someone to be accountable for creating the program, for driving public awareness of what the emblems mean. So if I can request that as a future agenda item at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I want to see that happen in short order if we can.
Well, I am happy to tell you that we do have some Prop 64 funding, and one of our communications team, one of the staff in the communications team is actually working on this public information campaign exactly to do that, to drive public awareness about the dangers of the illicit, market, and can certainly talk about the emblem program and its benefits in that PIC.
Okay, thank you.
I
And
was just going to
love
chime in
see
and
a
say the same thing.
social media toolkit that's handed out to neighborhood councils and community-based organizations to just use all means necessary to really get the word out. Let's not just rely on paid media. Thank you.
I wanted to chime in as possible if you guys can hear me. This is Michelle. Just to echo Rocky's thoughts, we do have funding for a public information campaign. It's not a lot of funding to help inform a city of 5.7 million people about the, about the illegal and legal marketplace. However, Commissioner Mason, to your comments, we are going through our final review of our social media campaign, which we hope to be rolling out by next month. We're really excited about it, finally, after all these years. So we will be able to start sending these social media toolkits to neighborhood councils, neighbors, other businesses, et cetera, et cetera. So we're super excited about that.
Commissioner Naro, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, if I can add a couple of things to this. This is a great conversation. One is with the social media campaign, I reach out to the young workers, and my students also encourage me to reach out. TikTok is a good, there's these platforms that we need to then start engaging with the younger generation, because that's what they look at, and they look TikTok, Instagram, and other platforms. And I'm happy to share those with you because my students give me the updates on all this stuff. And then the second one is the street vending. I'm part of the Street Vendors Coalition, and when we legalized street vendors finally in 2016, we've been engaged in this massive public education piece about food vendors. And then with the food vendors themselves, we were working hard with them to make sure that they comply with a lot of the sanitary requirements. But so we try to promote, food vendors that do comply in a way that so the public knows who they are and how they know if they're buying from a food vendor on the streets, they'll know that that vendor has been through the process of the public education. And so I'm happy to share all the documents that how we've done this with the Street Vending Coalition.
Just to a quick announcement. One of the two people that Jason mentioned that we hired is coming to my unit as a senior management analyst, and I don't know if he's listening because he's still not part of the department, but I did tell him to watch us. He actually is coming from the street vendor program. He's one of the supervisors over there. So we're gonna have somebody. And if you're listening, Richard, you're on blast here. But yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I really liked what I saw in the interview. And so he's coming over to our team, hopefully before the end of this month. Stealing people left and right, coming to our little group here.
Yeah, no, this is a great discussion, and a lot of really good points. These are important discussions, especially as it relates to, we're all trying to solve this problem of this illicit market. There's just so many layers and so many aspects to it, and there's no silver bullet, unfortunately. It's going to require all hands on deck and attack it from every which way possible. And I think this emblem program is just one aspect of it. I think it can be an effective tool, but this alone will not stop it. I think we need to support it with, again, some sort of educational component. We talked a little bit about the PSAs, and we do have a budget But before we proceed, I wonder, is there a way we can, I don't know if we need to commission a study, but even if we could just get some folks together in a room that are from the industry, from the community, just to get a better understanding of the situation. Because if we're talking about the PSA, what is the content? What is the substance of that PSA? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What is the message? And the message has to be based on an understanding of the situation. We have to first understand. That's why I keep talking about the consumer behavior. What makes folks shop at these stores, right? There's probably numerous reasons for that. And then I think once we have that understanding, then we can start crafting a sensible message that's persuasive and also very effective. But I just want to make sure that we were very deliberate in these steps. And before we move forward with the PSA, making sure that we really do understand the situation, the problem that we're trying to tackle. Some of the comments I made earlier are just really more kind of anecdotal from conversations I've had with industry folks and with community and with consumers. You know, I ask people questions all the time to try to understand kind of what's driving this behavior. And so I think those are the things that I would recommend that we take a deep dive into before we start producing any PSAs or messaging.
Okay. And Commissioner Mason, I just wanted to also, before we leave, just thank you for helping us promote our second town hall. Really helpful. You know, we've gotten, I know I didn't really get into that much, again, because I don't want to talk too much about the illicit market, you know, but we are having really good participation in these town halls, and we do appreciate the help that you gave us. Thank you.
Ms. Grockin, that's your hand up.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your comments, both you, Commissioner Crockett, Vice President Mason, and Commissioner Naro's all been incredibly insightful in terms of the PSA. That is the plan. The plan, and we've already kind of begun to put together an RFP to bring on a vendor to help us develop this PSA. But once we do execute the RFP and select a vendor, the first thing that vendor will do, as long as I'm in this role, is going to be doing a very comprehensive outreach effort to not just community members about how we can shape this PSA, but also to existing businesses on what makes sense. So I take your suggestion, and I will continue to keep you guys updated on how we move forward with this PSA effort.
Fantastic. It's great to hear. Vice President Mason.
I just wanted to point you all towards the LA for All program coming out of the Department of Civil and Human Rights. And I know you may not have the finances for banners or anything like that, but somehow they've managed to blanket the city with banners and the pole banners and fence banners and social media. And so if you could connect with that department and see how they accomplish their outreach. If the model is already out there, you know, don't spend too much time recreating the wheel, if you will, and just look to them to see how they accomplish their goals and what their ideas are on reaching their target audiences, and see what you can adopt from their practices and implement here.
Excellent suggestion. Excellent suggestion. I just had a conversation with Capri the other day, so I'm going to follow back up with her.
That's great. Any other questions or comments before we wrap? No? Okay, great. I want to thank everyone again for your contribution to today's meeting, the callers that called in with the public comment. You know, I feel very encouraged. We got a lot of great, detailed, meaningful updates today. We've got a long way to go still, but I feel like we're making meaningful progress in various aspects with all the different things that are going on. We've heard from the different department heads whether it's licensing, enforcement and compliance, in general, department updates. And it's a huge task ahead of us, but I believe that we've identified the issues, and we as a department are working very diligently to address those needs, and working with the council to make the required modifications to streamline a lot of these processes. So I just want to thank everyone again for all of your hard work, and we look forward to the next hearing and the future progress that we're going to make. So thank you again, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. The meeting is adjourned today at 4:34. Thank you very much.